I'm a vote blue no matter who.
No, I am
guy.
too, right? But that's not what he's saying. He's going like, okay, the way he's pushing back on Republicans right now isn't saying, "Oh, we should go out and vote." He is saying that. He is saying that,
He
right?
is saying that,
But he's not just saying that. His answer right now is political violence. Do you disagree with that?
Hello?
Whoa, you are loud. Okay, I had you bumped up to 175. Okay.
Oh yeah. Old mic issues. How you doing, bro?
How's it going, dude?
Not bad.
Have you been streaming recently?
Yeah, so I guess we can talk about these things. So we can just start with the one that you were on right now, the Destiny one.
Sure.
So okay, here, let me backtrack and I'll give you kind of my view on how I conduct myself, okay? I have decided pretty early on, and then especially after the Prime K's stuff, that like I'm not really like too concerned with interpersonal drama. Because it's good to weigh in on that stuff, but like you should really know the full backstory of every like dynamic before you weigh into these things. And because I have a full-time job, this isn't my full-time thing. I don't have like the emotional investment to be able to do that. So I don't really care about interpersonal dramas. So that's one part of it. So what do you think of that so far? Because a lot of the criticism was like you were saying if some drama's happening, you should take a hard stance and say this person's a good person or that person's a bad person or whatever.
I think that this doesn't have so much to do with a drama between just like two people. I think this has more to do with just like him being banned, right?
Okay, we can get to that. Yeah.
Sure. So like I understand what you're saying, right? You don't want to get involved in interpersonal drama, right? But like the question here isn't about interpersonal drama. The question here in regards to him being banned would have been a question of like either like freedom of speech or like overreaching TOS or like possibly cancel culture if you want to go that route. Like these are the sorts of things that like the stance that I would
at the time.
Yeah.
So first of all, it seems like I don't know. Maybe it's like my science brain, okay? Like there's always like so I did the MCAT, it's like the exam you do for medical school. And when I wrote that, one of the biggest like advices that was given like for deciding which of the answer choices is correct is like stay away from extreme language. So if an answer choice said like if this happened, then it would definitively change the variable from positive to negative or something like that, then most of the time those answers are wrong. So like my science brain tries to always like have nuance for these kind of things. I don't like to say like, oh, this is bad or this is good. Oh, Destiny shouldn't have been banned or he should have been banned. Because to be honest, you know how vague it is when people get banned. You don't actually know what the hell you got banned for. He doesn't even know whether it was the trans sports thing or the fucking. I thought for the longest time I thought it was because he posted the blackface version of himself. And or like people got mass reported. Like I don't fucking know what the hell he got banned for. You know?
Do you think that any of those have? Do you think that any of those should have gotten him banned?
Like if I was in charge of Twitch or based off of how Twitch runs their platform?
If you were Twitch, I'm talking about like what would you do? Like
if I was Twitch, I wouldn't even have a just chatting category.
Well, like, that's not what I'm asking,
I have a completely different.
Right?
Like I don't understand what angle you want me to approach it from. Like if I was Twitch, I wouldn't have politics being discussed on my platform because why the fuck would I want that? Look at all the fucking shit that's happened. You have people like Haas who had Putin is good written across their screen. Why the fuck would Twitch want to deal with that? So no, I don't think Twitch is looking for any sort of political content. So they're looking for reasons to ban people, of course.
Okay. I'm not asking what Twitch would do. I'm asking, do you think that it is right for someone who is like seemingly following all of Twitch TOS to the point where like because we don't like we can't even pinpoint anything that like could have gotten banned for the listed reason, which is hate speech, right? We can only speculate, which I agree. We can only speculate. Do you think that anything that like was said in the time right before he got banned would have been like worthy of being banned if you were like the god of Twitch?
Listen, so again, going back to it, right? Like I didn't watch that transports panel that he did, so I don't know. Like I assume that he didn't say anything hectic because he's a pretty like reasonable guy. But because I didn't watch it, I don't know all the context of everything in order to know whether it was justified or not. Like how why would I weigh in on whether it's justified? That was just a thread to say like, hey, I appreciate the work that he's done in the space. He has helped us grow. Here are some good things about him. Here's what he's meant to me and what he's helped me as like a fan. More than anything. And
But then,
at a time where everyone was shitting on him and saying, "Good, I'm glad he got
but you
banned."
didn't
Fuck
just say
you.
that, right? You also added in the extra thing. His biggest downfall was that
Yeah,
he's an asshole, right?
he
Which isn't
is.
even necessarily wrong, right? But
So
like,
then what's the problem?
because just because someone's an asshole doesn't mean that they should be banned off of
What
a
did I
fucking
say?
platform.
No, but what did I say after that though? I said he's an asshole and he doesn't care about optics. And if you don't care about optics, shit like the Rittenhouse clip is gonna happen.
Right. But like,
And that was
again,
the reason he got departnered, right?
so it feels like on one hand, you're doing this thing where you're talking about like, you're like, it sucks that Destiny was banned. I like these things about him. It made me no longer a left-wing populist, you know.
Yeah.
Now, if you're making a strong stance, right, about Destiny and why it's sad that he was banned, right? It feels like the thing that wouldn't like really fit there would be the like, also he's an asshole, lol. That's the part where it feels like, okay,
I'm
we're
trying
adding
to
into there.
explain. Yeah, I'm trying to explain listen, no one is perfectly good or perfectly bad. He, like everyone else, has his downfalls and his negative traits and his good traits. I don't know why you think you're saying that I shouldn't comment on both?
No, I'm saying that you can comment on both, but
Yeah,
in
I'm trying to kind of
specific
give a
instances.
context of sorry, I'm
Yeah.
giving a context of who he is, the work he's done, and why people don't like him.
Okay. But
Most
what
of the
we're
people who don't like him
I'm
have never
talking
seen
about
his
like
debates, right?
in different situations, there are different like responses that we have to people, right? So like in a conversation, like in like on the day of like Prime getting his cancellation, right? We can look at
Okay.
like people saying like, yeah, well, maybe Prime didn't sexually harass her, but like Kat has a point that he did make her uncomfortable, right? Which I think might have been my position before I like kind of came to realize that that was kind of a scummy position to like put out there, right?
Okay.
Because who is the person who is being victimized here? It would be Prime, right?
Again, so like there's this thing here. Like I had the similar take with the Amber Heard situation. Okay,
Mhm.
so like I am not in Kat's head or in Amber Heard's head to know whether or not they feel like they're being abused or harassed or whatever. That's a very personal thing, right? It's like trying to debate someone on their feelings. Like everyone has their own perception of the world, and because I can't know what her actual perception was, even if the evidence that was presented wasn't enough. It could just be that someone got bad, like she read it wrong, right? She misread the situation. But does her misreading the situation make the entire thing invalid? I don't know. I don't know. So why
Yes, it
would I comment
absolutely,
on that?
yeah, it 1,000,000% makes it invalid. If she's going to like put out a twit longer to ruin
You don't
someone's
know, but what
career,
I'm saying is you don't know if what people's intentions are. If I knew what her intentions were, if I could find an email or something that was like, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna ruin this guy's career even though he didn't hurt me," then you come out and say, "Yo, fuck that." But otherwise, it's like
is that
someone's
what
feelings on the
the
matter.
is that what the quality of the evidence that we have against someone? Or can we like look at
Yeah, I
all of
need
their
to know
behavior
people's
around?
intention.
Do you have to have like, can you not inductively reason what their intentions are?
If there's enough evidence, but I couldn't see enough evidence of what the claim that you're making, which is was to ruin someone's career. You don't see that it could have just been that she actually perceived it this way, even though she didn't have enough evidence or she misread the situation.
Okay, if someone were to misread a situation and it got that person the death penalty, right? Let's say that they're like, let's say that rape is something that gets you the death penalty, and then someone has like a bad sex, right? It was all consensual, but afterwards,
Yeah.
she comes out and she says, oh, well, this guy raped me, and then he gets convicted, and then he gets put on the death penalty, right? Like, is that misread just as like, is that the same? Because like
I
we
don't.
should treat people who are misreading situations and putting out like extreme allegations against someone, like, should we take all allegations as seriously when we have enough information to see that there's like a little bit more like sussy shit going on?
Well, what was more? What was the more sussy shit?
The fact that she had like communicated with Samantha Banana like whatsoever about like what other stuff had been going on, or there was something where there wasn't like communication about what stuff actually happened,
So
embellished details that didn't need to be in there, or like were like kind of made up, where she
yeah, okay,
said that she never,
but again,
that
I'm
she
gonna go back to the.
reciprocated everything, whereas in her twit longer that she said that she was like very explicit in saying that no, she wasn't interested, when when the logs were leaked in full,
So,
she was not clear at all, like that sort of shit.
so again, I'm gonna go back to what I said previously, which is I think that in relationships in general, if someone is in a toxic relationship, whether it's whoever it is, okay, it doesn't even matter about these two people. If two people are in a toxic relationship where one, whether it's one-sided toxicity or both-sided, which happens a lot as well, I think that people in those situations do things out of self-preservation that we wouldn't condone them doing otherwise. But because they're in a feeling of like they feel like they're backed into a corner almost, that they would do things that we would otherwise say, hey, like why would you do this, you know? So for that reason, because I'm not in that person's
Sure.
head,
So
I can't know.
so I understand where you're coming from, right? Because I feel like this was how I was in like 2020 or early 2021, right? Where like we're conflating the concept of understanding why, or like what someone did, or like why they thought something, or why they believe something, and then like justifying that in their actions, right? Because what we care about are actions, right? So
But
like,
that's what you were trying to do, right? When you're trying to say, oh, this person, you should come out and say this person's like wrong or right or whatever.
yeah,
Like
because of their actions.
yeah, but because I don't know all the actions, I can only comment on what's available at the time. And at the time, what I saw was cringe DMs of her saying, leave me alone, da 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 da, or die or whatever. And then what my take was, hey, listen, what the fuck? Like, it's probably a good practice not to try to hook up with other streamers. But I said you could use your clout from being a partnered streamer to go on Tinder and say, hey, I'm a streamer,
But
and
there's
use that. And
okay, but
I meet someone other.
yeah, no, I understand what
So
you're
that was
saying,
my take.
and
I
that
don't know
might be
why
a take that's
you're
still
saying
like, hold on. Well, like I understand what you're saying is like, and that could be a defensible position, but that's not the discussion that was being had. It wasn't
I
should you
don't care.
hook
Why would
up
I
with,
care about the discussion?
because it's something
Well,
that's
again, I don't
completely
want to.
extant, because you're not like,
You're asking me. Sorry, you're asking me to give a morality, like you're guilty or innocent, when I
no,
don't
I'm
know
saying
the
that
whole.
like you should come out like consistently and strongly for people that
I
are
would.
being victimized, or against people that are doing something wrong, right? Like that sort of thing, right? Even if you're going to say, I understand why this person did this, right? Let's say that they're like the fucking Xander Hall Lonnie shit, right? Like we can understand why she was stealing the money, right? And that she's an addict, and that like people who are addicts don't really make really good decisions, and sometimes they make decisions that hurt other people, and we can still have empathy for these people. But at the same time, we're not going to sit there and say like, yeah, well, I understand where she's coming from, and I understand where Zan's coming from. Like, hopefully they both live good lives, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to say, no, holy shit, Lonnie stole fucking Zan's money. Now we still have empathy, and we still understand why it happened, but we have to like, we still have to like say, yo, this is fucked, right?
So you can. So again, what I say is like I wouldn't say it the way you word it, because I'm not I'm not doing police investigations to know
I don't need to do
who's
police
saying what.
investigations.
What I would say is, again, not using my extreme language, I would say, damn, the information that's being presented is not looking very good for this person. But I leave the door open to Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's
I don't like to
that right there,
moralize.
right? What you said right there is fine,
Okay.
right? Like well, it's not looking good for this person right now, right? If
Okay.
that's like as far as your things went, right? That's like one
Okay. Well,
thing.
in some
But if
situations,
you're going,
it's
if you go further with it and you say, I understand where both sides are coming from on almost every issue, right? And I don't,
well,
again,
I
I
don't
don't think
think
it
I
comes
do
from like
that.
a, right, again, I don't know if I would consider like the same, like malicious intent, like it seemed Hans said in the tweet, right? Like, I don't think that you're like a bad dude for doing this, but we have to understand how the outside viewer sees these things. And this is something that I started noticing with myself when I used to try and like both sides Andy every single issue, especially with like Vaush and Destiny, right? And where it became increasingly untenable for me to continue to both sides Andy it. I like at a certain point you have to say, okay, well, this right here is fucked. I think that what is going on this side is no longer defensible, right? Now, I understand where they're coming from,
Why?
or I understand
Why do you care? I just don't understand, I guess.
because if
Like,
you're trying to maintain like relations with people, right? If you're trying to like maintain like a good character, I think that you should hold to your morals and you should
okay.
try and be as open and clear with what you think about things as you can. Like
But
if
if
it's
I
going
don't
to be
have a
like majorly like if you're going to be like murdered for like giving a take on something, or if you're going to like lose your job, obviously fucking hold your tongue. But if we're like doing like internet drama and someone's getting like fucking ass blasted on the internet over stuff that you think is like
I don't
really fucking
care though. I don't
stupid.
care if someone's getting ass blasted. I don't care. That's the thing.
But
Like,
if
I'm
you
not gonna
consider
weigh in
do
on
you
that
sure, do
unless
you
the
consider
take is
these
bad.
okay, how about this?
Like this
Do you
Lonnie
consider
situation, right? Lonnie and Zan. Do you think I'm gonna weigh in on this? I don't give a fuck. Why would I weigh in on it?
you don't have to weigh in on every single situation. But let's say
Okay,
okay, but like I would think that you would call some streamers your friends, right?
sure.
Would you both sides Andy them? Because it feels like in every situation you do, right? Where I
Depends
would
what
say,
they do. Depends what you think I'm gonna just because I'm friends with Dylan, do you think I will blindly like back him?
no,
Why
no.
would
It's
I?
also the other way, right? If you're friends with someone, it means not blindly fucking agreeing with everything they say or defending
Yeah.
every action, right?
So exactly, and in this thread, you're gonna see that I have tweets where I've criticized Destiny. I have tweets where I've supported Destiny. I have tweets where I've criticized Vaush, supported Vaush, criticized Hassan, supported Hassan. This whole thing started with me saying Hassan is a net good. So I just don't understand how it's like where the criticism is coming from when I feel like when things come up that I feel like okay, I'm gonna weigh in on this. I don't really care whether or not that person's community agrees with me or doesn't agree with me. Look at the situation I'm in, okay? I am a liberal, sock them, probably have the same politics as Destiny, but more of my viewers are from VGG and more of and DGG generally has like a negative opinion of me because I've had disagreements with Destiny or whatever. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop having the takes I have or that I'm going to flip and become socialist or something like that, you know?
Right, but and again, like that's good, obviously. I think that like people who change their political opinions um with their viewers is like ultra cucked, right?
Yeah.
But I'm more talking about like interpersonal shit, right?
But
Like
I
I'm
don't
not
care
talking
about
about
that. Yeah,
okay, but
I
like
don't care about interpersonal
you
shit.
but you make statements about interpersonal stuff all the time.
When?
Like the fucking Destiny ban or saying that like I'm not talking about your political opinions. I'm talking about like your like reads on people's character or their like impact, right?
Okay, so yeah, so we're going back to that because I wanted to mention this. Like you said, oh, he tries to be like on good terms with everyone. To be honest, I don't. My line is like, if I think that this person is a net good, then I'm gonna try and remain cordial with them. But someone like Lauren Southern, I'm not cordial with her. I've literally never been nice to her. I've only taken shots at her, and I will continue to do so because I don't think that her presence on online discourse is a net benefit. So yeah, as long as people are like left leaning generally and progressives, then even if they have dumb fuck ideas about how the LGBTQ people should get armed right now for genocide, whatever, that I can say, hey, listen, like this take sucks, but you're still someone that I consider an ally in the broader sense. So
What would someone on the
yeah,
left
that's
have to do, on the broader left, have to do for you to like disavow them, or to like
yeah.
take
So
a hard
I'll
stance
tell you
against? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. So what's her face? No, sorry. Remember that guy who said that streamer who said Destiny's G slur because he has blue eyes?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that shit. Like that, I'm like, okay, fuck you. Like, or um, like fucking Mel, for example. I blocked Mel because she said like all Vaush viewers and Destiny viewers are pedos and shit. Like, so I have a line. It's just I guess like petty interpersonal shit for the most part. I don't get. Or you know who else? Bad Empanada. He told me in DMs once that he thought I should die. So like I'm like fuck this guy. Like yeah. So I have a line, obviously.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to like form like what I'm trying to say, and of course, like I started reading the thread, and then you were in chat.
Yeah, we
So
can
I
keep
don't,
going on the thread if
I
you
don't
want. You
have
want
like
to do
every
that?
single like
Yeah, yeah. We
instance
can
of me
go into
like
the
thinking
next
that you were
example.
both sides andying. The
I guess
other
I still disagree with the read that you had of the thing that Destiny when Destiny got banned. I think I still stand by that because like yeah, I mean I just kind of explained what he's meant to me and how he got me into streaming. I think it was like
Sure.
fair, I guess.
So
I don't know.
I think that like the words themselves, like all of the like just taken in a vacuum, yeah, that was fair. But I think in the broader context of what was going on then, right, comes off as both sizing, right? The reason why, and like we've kind of already talked about it, uh, so we don't have to like keep on circling to drain on that one specific thing.
Yeah, sure. We can go to the next one after.
Right,
But yeah,
but
go
like,
ahead.
yeah, the reason why is because like if something bad happens to someone, right, and then you like put out a thing like, "Hey, I'm going to say that this person is like a good person and like does a lot of good stuff," right? That the only reason to add in bad shit about them and add in extra shit that would be negative about them to I feel like most reasonable people would be to make sure that you're hedging your bets with people that hate him as well, right? So it doesn't come off
But
as you're
if you go look at that, everyone's still hating on me. So it doesn't. If you're thinking that's why I did it, it's not like it works.
um well, why were they
I just
hating on you?
literally think that because they're still saying, "Oh, you're running defense for him. Fuck him." And I so you're saying like, "Oh, you're hedging your bet against other people who feel the other way." It's like no, because it doesn't. That's not how it works. Like I just
But
think that Destiny
and
is a
yet
flawed person, and he has really good qualities, and he had his bad qualities that made a lot of people hate him. And I kind of tried to explain why I think people hate him. I don't think that's like, oh, you didn't weigh in on the ban. Like, I don't fucking know about the ban. Twitch as the wackest TOS, anyways. I don't know.
you,
But we can go on to the next one if you want.
yeah.
I don't mind.
Both sidesing doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's happy. It could mean that everyone is just pissed off enough to where like they're still willing to like watch your
I
shit,
guess like
right?
the thing is like I guess like I just I like to consider it more like nuance and kind of trying to explain both sides of the why it was good, why it was bad, like why people might hate him, why people might love him. Like I guess you could say that's both sidesing it, but I feel like I always try to make it definitive that like I'm have what my view is on it. But we can go on to the next one if you want.
Sure. Let me scroll down. Oh, I'm on the wrong thread. One sec. Okay, so we got like the trucker one. I don't think that was like a super like hot take.
At the time, it was because literally everyone was saying that like Canada is now a fascist country. This is so
The
extra. They didn't need
leftists
to
would
do
have,
this.
yeah. I think that all like
But
the libs,
where do
yeah.
you think most of our viewers come from?
Fuck, most of my viewers are not leftists anymore. After
I
the
mean,
vampire
liberal.
xenogender arc, but
But you know what I mean though. Like in the spaces we run, I would say that to be even a liberal and not a socialist is in itself like a hot take. I don't know.
it. I think I agree with you on that. But there's a good chunk of leftists that will still watch sock dims as long as they make sure not to like cross the line, as long as they're just like towing the line when it comes to certain topics, right? So like
But
they
you and
might
I both know how much easier it would be if I came out and I was like, "Listen, today I'm a socialist now, and
I don't think
like I
that in
already
and
know
of
all the talking
itself
points."
no, I don't think that in and of itself would get you the viewership, right? I think that like
You're cracked if you think that,
no, no,
bro. I'm
no
telling
shot,
you.
no shot, because this is what it is. It's all about like the predominant like social issue shit. Like people will say like socialist, right? And then like people still don't
Well,
watch people just because they're socialist, right? But it's like if you're able to like get people to watch you, and as long as you don't like ever like speak with like a strong fucking full chested like condemnation of a take, right? Of one of their favorite content creators, whether it's Destiny or whether it's Vaush, then they'll probably still watch you, right? The reason why I lost most of my fucking like VGGers, right, is because I took a pretty strong stance against like both xenogenders, and then there was one time where I debated Vaush on hippy dippy and tried to like talk about solutions to the what do you call it, insulin issue in the US,
mm,
right? And because I was talking about like a capitalist one, a capitalist solution, because that's the world that we live in now. Like I
mhm.
lost like almost all
So
of my
you agree
social.
with me? Yeah. That by not espousing leftist rhetoric, by not being like a, like being more
Sure, but you
radical
don't. Sure,
is better
no.
for, yeah.
Okay, so I understand where we're at now. So I would agree that the you don't have to like necessarily say the extremist rhetoric or like the socialist rhetoric or whatever, but you can't come out too strongly against it, right? As long as you're like kind of like at least coming from like an understandable place, then
But I mean,
like
I think I have, because like I came out and I said we shouldn't waive the vaccine patents, and I simped for Bill Gates. Like, do you really think that that's not a hot take?
wait, say that one again.
I said that like when COVID, remember the patent? Everyone was talking about whether or not the patents should get
Yeah,
waived.
that was probably one time where I would say that the I don't know what your full take on it was, but like that was unironically pretty brave in terms of like viewership if most of your audience is VGG.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so at least you
Yeah,
agree. Anyways, we can keep going. Let's keep
yeah,
going on the
yeah,
thread.
yeah, yeah. And listen, I'm not here to shit on you. All right, I'll give you props where props are due, but like, yeah.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
There's a disagreement I had with Rim the Bath Boy when I was completely new on the scene. Blocked me for saying the person that was the subject of an ass whooping by the police was asking for it, and they weren't necessarily racist. Um,
So here's one where this was like a
sure, I
video
don't know
where
all of these, so we might have to.
yeah, I can.
Yeah.
That basically this video of indigenous guy in Canada. He like resisted arrest, and the cop told him like 100 times, "Get back in the car, get back in the car." And he was just like being super aggressive. And then after like 10 minutes of going back and forth and like threatening the officer, he like another officer came and rushed and like tackled him to the ground and punched him a few times before arresting him. Rem originally said, "Oh, this is another example of racism in the police department." Da, da, da. And I'm like, listen, it's not necessarily racism. It could just be like this guy was being an asshole. And even at that time, that was such a hot take. Rem blocked me, and that was when I was a nobody.
Hmm.
I defended
I'm
Louis
seeing.
C.K.
Well, fuck, I don't even remember what the Louis C.K. joke was. This is okay. So like these are like political takes that you have, right? Again, I don't know like all of your shit, like all of your takes or like all of the stuff that you've weighed in on, what you haven't weighed in on, right?
There's one time I called out Hassan, and he responded back to me. Like that one that you're blocked. I think you're blocked
Yeah,
forever. Is that why you
yeah, I think
yeah, open
I
it
think I said
incognito.
something about Destiny in my quote tweet once, and but I don't know what the yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like saying that Louis C.K. you still watch Louis C.K. comedy in a left-leaning progressive space, you gotta admit is a very hot fucking
Right. I'm not
position
saying
to
that you don't
take.
have hot takes. Right, but
So
that
then
was
yeah,
that was Hans's thing,
so
right? And
then
I don't
so then
disagree. I don't agree with Hans on like 100% of what he said,
okay.
right? And that's why I said like I don't think that you're trying to do this with like this Machiavellian kind of intent
Okay,
that
okay.
Hans was trying to give you, right? I think that you're a really nice dude, right? But I think that um the kind of like really nice shit that like offline, I'm a lot nicer to people, right? Like I'm at my like highest like highest degree of like not tense. I'm missing the word that I'm looking for here, but like I'm ultra ready to like give a take and hold that take, right? Because I
Mhm.
know like what my principles are, and if someone was to do something that goes against my principles, that I'm or against like principles that they've espoused in the past, right? Then I'm going to like call them out for that, right? And I'm not going to add a caveat necessarily unless it's like pertinent to the issue at hand, right? That's what I'm trying to get at here. And it
But
feels
I
like
think I do the
when
same. I don't think no one's ever challenged me on something and then I've like backed away from it or anything like that.
not challenged you on a take, challenged you on like or you like coming out where it might burn a bridge with someone else.
I mean, yeah, because my standard for burning bridges is pretty high. That's
Yeah,
why.
and I understand that, right?
Yeah.
My thing is this. When I like the more I learned about like how people kind of interact in these spaces and the more that I've learned about how lonely and isolated people can get when people are wronging them, but they might have a larger platform, and because they have a larger platform, people don't want to come out against them and say that hey, this was fucking wrong and this person was like totally fine, right? Like if there's nothing to lose from the take that you're given, that you're giving in any kind of uh, like interpersonal thing. And again, I'm talking about interpersonal um, because that's like it feels like if there
I
is
guess to
something that
me,
you can't,
the
if there's
only,
no risk involved, right? And it still goes against your principle, or if there is risk involved, even though it goes against your principles, you might like try to like say, "Hey, well, this was pretty bad." However, I understand where they're coming from, right? Which would be like a nice thing to like talk, like have that kind of conversation and like a person to person conversation, right? But if we're like talking about one person getting shit on and the other person is, you know, getting massive support behind them because you know there's like allegations going around, like
but you got, but
we
in
can
order to
focus.
weigh in,
Yeah,
I need to go and read the allegations, do all of this research and shit, but ahead of time, which I just don't have time for, or the energy or emotional investment for. So I prefer not to weigh in on those kind of things. Like people can, they're grown ups, they can handle it themselves. Yeah, I could fucking tweet out some shit and get some likes out of it or something, or generate some
but it's not
discussion around
necessarily
it.
about
But
that because
because
if we like I don't consider most of the people in this space my friend, right? I consider most of the people in this space to be like either colleagues or people that I fucking
sure.
hate or people that I like generally like, but there are like maybe like five people that I can think of off the top of my head that I would consider like friends that I could I could expect them to like have my back if like my shit was getting mega fucked by someone that was a
But
much
it
larger
depends. What do you
creator,
mean
right?
when you say have my back? I guess what do you mean by that?
If they if they stood to lose something by speaking up, right? And they still spoke up, that would be what I would consider someone of like high moral or high like a high level of character, like a very good character, right?
So, like, can you give me an example? I guess.
So let's say we'll use Destiny as an example, right? There are a
Sure.
lot of instances where Destiny had people that were his friends or played games with him on stream,
Hmm.
who couldn't, who like cut ties with him after one drama or another, not because they disagreed with him, and they would tell him so in private. Like, I agree with you, but like like if I were to like say anything, then like I would be just be like, or if I continued to play games with you, then like I would just be fucked, right? Like I would like lose
Hmm.
all my other connections because they would burn me, right? A lot of people did this when it came to like Hassan versus Destiny, like all the larger
Sure.
streamers, right? They don't have
Hmm.
like a high like moral character because they wouldn't risk the optical loss of
Sure,
saying,
I got you. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. But I've never done that though. I've never been in that situation even.
but it feels like you have when we talk, even when we
When?
talked about the cat and Prime situation, right?
But in that situation, I literally went on a panel with Dylan and Kat and told them why the exact same thing I said on my stream that day, which is you shouldn't date other streamers, and they were still dating at the time. Like that would have been you could say that was like me telling Dylan to his face that I disagreed with his choices.
Okay,
Which
how about this? What if
he
there
could
was
have never
someone,
invited me back on Hippy Dippy, right?
sure. Let's say that there was, let's say someone died of carbon monoxide poisoning, right? Uh, but then like we get more information. It turns out like, well, the reason, and it was because they left their stove on, but it wasn't lit, right? And they died because of that. That might not be carbon monoxide. That might be something else, but whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what comes out of the fucking gas stove. I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
Now let's say that when you hear that, you like say, man, that really sucks, right? And then more information comes out, right? And it turns out that they died of they left it on because they're old and they don't know how to like keep good care, like do like regular maintenance on their stove so that it doesn't like leak gas out, right? And then like your response was like, yeah, man, this is a good lesson for us to know that like you probably should like you should probably make sure that your gas is turned off. Well, like that's not the answer for what we're looking at, right? What we're looking at here is that, oh man, this person was really old and they didn't have a caretaker, and like all the people that like were supposed to help them didn't help them. Instead, we're talking about like, well, yeah, we're talking about it really sucks that they left their stove on, right? And that's
I think
be a lesson to us all.
Like going back to the Destiny example, okay? I think that, if anything, the take I gave was the more nuanced take, rather than saying, "Oh no, he shouldn't have been banned," or moralizing.
Well, hold on. Let's stay on the Prime thing before we move on to the Destiny thing, right? Like, okay. I think that.
So here's what happened: the Prime thing. Okay, first of all, I made a huge mistake, and again, that was a lesson. That was the first and last time I weighed in on personal drama. Okay, I learned a lot from that. So I'm not even saying I did everything perfectly. First of all, I live reacted to it, which was a huge mistake. Okay, I
don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
I was supposed to do a podcast with Dylan, and at like 8:00, and he went on at 6:00 and started doing the thing, and I was able to catch some of it. Like I was eating dinner, making food.
Fucked up that podcast.
But I was able to catch. Yeah, and then at like 7:30, Destiny called in to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting ready for the podcast, and so I thought, okay, I'm gonna throw on the stream, and then when he's done with Destiny, we'll start our podcast, right? So the takes that I gave during that were developing in real time, right? I didn't know. I was just hearing everything in real time. I saw DMs. I evaluated the DMs that I was shown. They were cringe, and I said cringe DMs, and then I said, hey, listen, I don't know what's going on here, but people shouldn't really date other streamers, and that was my take at the time. And then that's it. And then I said people can feel like they're being abused or harassed or whatever, even if the majority of people wouldn't agree that it comes up to that standard of harassment. But that doesn't mean that their feelings are invalid or whatever. Like, people have all kinds of different emotional upbringings and stuff that prepare them or don't prepare them for any given situation. So that was my take, and then after that,
I understand that take, and I think that's a nice.
Back.
I think that's a nice take, and I think that's a defensible take, right? But what the thing that I'm looking for, right? The thing that I'm looking for more when we talk about, like,
you want me to come out and say Kat was trying to ruin
not necessarily,
his career.
not necessarily. You don't have to say it like that, and like we don't know if like necessarily like that was her intent. What I think her intent was like to. Fuck. Hold on. I think that what her intent was to try and do that, but she did it in a way that was super fucking shitty and possibly sus, right? Okay. And calling out the shittiness of the way that she went about it was the thing that needed to happen. rather than
But
just
in
saying,
at that time, how like in real time when we're dealing with it, it's kind of
"Oh,
that's
sure."
what you're
I'm not.
saying is
Well,
like
hold on. I'm
yeah,
not
it's
saying
like
like
it
in
is
real
the
time. I'm
aftermath.
saying I'm not
Okay.
saying in real time because, of course, like having
Yeah, I think everyone learned lessons. Even Dylan himself
I
realized
learned
he fucked
lessons.
up,
Yes,
right? Yeah,
that was
Dylan
the event
himself
that like
realized.
got me to
Yeah,
change my opinion on these kinds of like interpersonal conflicts, or even like
right.
the kinds of like deciding when to take a stand against like a larger content creator who you might like broadly agree with. Like I'll say right now, I broadly agree with Vaush on like a whole bunch of things, right? Like I do agree that we should be giving trans people rights. I believe in LGBT rights. I believe that like there's a lot of
Yeah,
problems with capitalism, et
yeah,
cetera, et
that's why I
cetera.
think he's a
But this
net
is the
good. Yeah.
problem, right? Is that like just because we can look at like broad things that they believe in, that I also believe in, the way that they go about those things are so fucking damaging that at a certain point,
But you can call out the way they go about it. Of course, I think I do that. I
right?
say
But you still think
all
that
the time.
Vosh is. I'm not trying to like get you to like
I'll
ruin
commit
your.
to it.
Right. This is my thing. I
I
didn't.
think
What?
Vaush does his tactics sometimes are bad. His prescriptions are sometimes bad. But broadly, like you said, I think he's good for the left and for progressivism. And yeah,
I would challenge you to give me one good prescription he's given like that has gone like viral recently. Um, because like
why does that have to go viral?
well because like just ones that we would know about. Like I'm not talking about like he watched a Matt Walsh video and he said some pro trans things. Right? I'm talking about like some of like the things that made people start hating Vosh, right? Like if there's like things there that you can like say like even though he's done this, this is still broadly good for the left, right? Or this prescription about trans people, which I think that his takes on trans people end up hurting trans people. But like that's the sort of stuff that I'm talking about. I think that again, I would agree with like a whole bunch of what Vosh says or like what he believes as like at a baseline, LGBT rights. There are problems with capitalism that need fixing, right? He would say to go
Mhm.
full socialism. I wouldn't. That's where what a disagreement is. What a point for me that would be like an absolute line, and the absolute line for me was when he was saying we need to start like and he was saying this, we need to kill Republican lawmakers. Okay, that's what he was saying. And when he
Yeah,
started saying that, like at that point you're no longer doing anything good for anyone on the left. You are actively
why?
putting
Why do you say that? Okay, let's
because
say he
you're
said that.
actively
Okay, wait, one sec,
yeah.
one sec. So let's say he said that, which I agree is really fucked up. You shouldn't say that, and it's very extreme radicalism that I'm not for. You know, I'm a moderate. Let's say he said that one day, but then he spends the next 3 years toning it down and being responsible with his rhetoric. So
Then
why
that's
would you draw
good,
the
but he
line?
hasn't because
You're
I'm
saying if
only
he
going
does
based
that,
off of
like,
people's
basically,
actions. I can't look into the
so
future and say that this person is
no,
going to
sorry,
do something good, right?
one sec. Sorry, let me just further cement what I was trying to say. So you're saying that when he made that take, that was it for you. That's it. Now you no longer think that he's a net good because he said that, right? I'm saying I
In a
don't agree with that.
culmination of a whole bunch of other things, right? That I was like, okay, he's going a little bit off the deep end, okay, but
Sure,
like
I
we can
agree. I
still think
agree.
he's like a
Okay.
pretty he still has like some good prescriptions, but like when it gets to a point where he's actively like becoming a stochastic fucking terrorist, I think it's time to fucking cut ties and say that this guy right here is
Is
going
he
to
wait? So is he advocating for that every
yes.
stream?
I
Every
does it
stream he's
matter?
saying that. Yeah, I think that like if someone says a shitty thing once versus that becomes their
He has
new
not
kind of
sure. So this is what I'll say. He has not changed his stance on that. He does still bring it up. I don't know if he does it every stream. I don't watch his fucking streams, right? But he
same,
has
yeah.
not walked back a single fucking sentence of what he said.
Okay, so but I'm saying okay, let's say doesn't walk it back and then he never brings it up again and he just moves on and keeps talking about LGBTQ rights and so on and so forth. Do you say that you know
I
that he like you can't you like he's irredeemable now? Is that what you're
I'm
saying?
not saying he's irredeemable, but I'm judging
Okay.
people based off of their actions. If he ends up never saying that sort of shit again and he starts like explicitly saying like we should be doing this through the system, making sure that we get everybody on board politically, making sure that
He
like we
does
get
though, right? He does. I guess you can say he does both, kind of, because he does that pretty good. Like we need to make sure we vote next time in the election
he
because look at
has
what happened with the
laid
Supreme
out
Court and abortion.
he has laid out every single fucking thing that the people that were doing the great replacement memes were doing, where the system is inherently flawed. There's nothing that we can do to fix this. And at this point, I think that we should all be making sure that we are armed and ready for the coming trans genocide. I don't think that that right there is what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm talking about him like laying out beat for beat. The system can't be reformed. The system is already fucked. We've lost 2022. We're going to lose 2024. They're going to take over the United States and take away our ability to go out and vote. All right. And at that point, the trans genocide will begin. Well, if it's at that point, well, then there's no other option but for people to, like he said, take up arms. And then he did the whole wink, wink, nudge, nudge for about 2 weeks fucking straight as people tried to confront him on it, where he was saying, I would never condone political violence. All I'm saying is, well, if we let's say that you were in the if we were to draw an analog to Nazi Germany, when would the Jews have been justified in taking political action against?
Listen, I think that's actually so. While we're on this, I think that's a fair question. So when he's saying, "Oh, the genocide is impending" or whatever, right? And I agree that it's not likely, right? It's very. If we're to draw out a line of where things are headed, it's probably not a genocide of all trans people, okay? But he's bringing up a good point in saying that if you asked a random person in Germany or in Poland in 1930 whether or not hey, listen, in 9 years, 10 years, they're going to be putting in 12 years they're going to be putting Jewish people in ovens, you would say, what the fuck are you talking about? Stop fear mongering, you fucking loser. It's the exact same thing.
It is not the exact same thing because we could see extensive action on the Nazis' side.
At the time it wasn't. In 1930 it wasn't.
When they were like rounding up socialists, when they were putting stars.
Not in 19. They
well,
were.
I don't know. I don't know. Like specifically in 1930. But there's like, if we had nothing to go off of, then yeah, no. At that point, then they probably wouldn't have been justified because they had no fucking clue. Like if they were just like going to go around and start doming random fucking people who they considered to be like Nazis or Nazi collaborators, right? Like most Nazis didn't even know about like the fucking genocide that was going on. Right, most of the people in Germany just thought that they were like being taken off to the fucking ghettos or the fucking like work camps, right? So do you think that like in like if you don't know if someone has done something, but it's possible that they did, right? And they are part of a political group that like has been known to do those things. Do you think that you have carte blanche to just like walk up and fucking shoot them in the head?
Of course not. No.
Okay, so then you agree with me and you disagree with Vaush.
I disagree with Vaush when he says that there's a trans genocide coming, but I'm disagreeing.
No, you disagree with the entire thing that you just laid out. In regards to the 1930s.
No. How?
Okay.
How? Sorry.
Let's say you find out someone's a Proud Boy. Can you shoot them in the head?
No, of course not. Okay.
Now let's say in 15 years, you find out that the Proud Boys have been like gathering up trans people and like shooting them in the fucking forest. Okay.
No, you're making the wrong prescription here. So I
there's no prescription.
What there. I think. So sorry, people are giving Vaush a lot of shit for fear mongering, I guess, right?
It's not just fear mongering. It's giving directions and saying that Republicans need to be killed.
Hang on. Let me backtrack. One sec.
Sure.
That part I have a massive problem with. Okay. I already am gonna 100% agree with you. Calling for violence is fucked up. And it's a very radical thing that I will never defend, okay? I'm talking about the fear-mongering. Can we separate the two?
The fear-mongering and the...
Yeah, because what I'm saying is you can
compare the other
to
side?
1930, the fear-mongering and then the call for action.
The call for action is part of the fear-mongering.
No,
there would be no reason...
Fear-monger with... Wait, one sec. You can fearmonger and say, hey, listen, for example, okay, I'm going to use the Germany example again, okay? If in 1930, a prominent leader of the Jewish people that lived in Germany said, hey, listen, there's a genocide coming and they're going to fucking kill us all. You know what one prescription would have been? To immigrate. And a lot of people did at the time. There's a lot of people
No,
who
no,
saw
listen,
the
if they
writing
had
on the wall and
evidence,
they
if
left.
they
So what I'm
knew,
saying
if
is,
someone had
sorry,
fucking
you know what?
like not predestination, precognition, and they could just look into the future and they could see all of the fucking like piles of bodies after the fucking Holocaust. Yeah, they would have absolute justification to go out and start killing Nazis, but they
I'm
didn't
not
know at that
talking
time.
about that. Of course. But what I'm saying is there were things happening. There were some signs, right? There was some persecution. They were boycotting Jewish businesses. What I'm saying is, at that time, to fearmonger would have made sense to me. In the same way that right now with the LGBTQ people, you can see that the Republicans have a clear agenda that's very anti-LGBTQ. That's all they fucking care about. That's all they fucking message about. So it's the similar thing where there's some signs, though it's very unlikely that anything is going to happen. There are some signs that I can say, okay, I can understand why someone might fearmonger about that, despite saying that, listen, they should never do a call to violence.
Okay, there is a difference between saying you should be wary of the things that are going on right now. There are a lot of bad trans bills going out. The Republican Party seems to want to erase trans people from like the public conscious, right? And just like pretend like they don't exist, right? There's a difference between saying that and then saying like there is going to be a trans genocide, which is what Vaush does, right? He says it's coming. We're at stage whatever.
Well, I think yeah, I mean, what he's saying is it's coming. Like if things don't change, right? If with the current
right,
course
and what
that
is
we're
the
on.
prescription that he gives?
I disagree with the prescription already. So what do we? There's
So
no point in arguing
no,
about
no, no,
that.
no. Okay, he has no evidence to fearmonger in the way that he does. If anything,
What do you mean? Yeah, he has all the different LGBTQ anti-trans
can you
bills.
draw? Can you
The
draw
rhetoric.
can you draw a direct line between what is going on with trans bills and a fucking genocide of
You
trans
literally
people?
you literally just said they want to erase trans people. Those are your words.
From the public conscious, that doesn't mean that they're going to fucking murder them all.
Yeah, that's like saying we're gonna erase Islam from the public conscious. What do you think that's gonna do to people who are Muslims? They're gonna fucking feel like they're being that's like basically violence against a group of people.
It is violence.
Yeah.
It is state violence. But what I'm saying is if there is a
genocide
difference,
not state violence?
okay, there is a difference between saying that we're trying to like not allow people to get trans affirming healthcare and eradicating Muslims. Do you recognize that?
What if they said we're gonna make it so you can't practice Islam anymore? No more mosques, or no more. No one's gonna be called Muhammad anymore. We're gonna call you Mike. Shit like that. They're not eradicating it. They're just saying we're not open to.
We're banning this religion.
Not necessarily even banning it, just doing everything they can through rhetoric and cultural things to, make it uncomfortable and make it so that you're ashamed of who you are.
I think that there is a difference between that and like literal, like either like deporting you or killing you. And so like in the case that you're talking about, where there is no like direct like threat of like removing you from a country or killing you, right? I think there's a difference between that, which would be justified in, enacting some form of political violence, and, something that can still be reformed within the system that would lead to less people dying overall.
Okay, I mean, I again, like, I just trying to tell you that, like, we were, I don't know, we're getting stun locked on this 1930s Germany thing,
right?
I'm
but
just
like
trying to say,
that's the thing.
even
like,
though, so my whole point is just to
we can
reiterate,
pull it back to the fact that I think that this take right here is being so ultra charitable to Vaush, where it's like, okay, yeah, well, I agree with the fear mongering, but I don't agree with the prescription. Well, the fear mongering, whether he gives the prescription or not, is what will lead people to do the prescription either way. This is what stochastic terrorism is, right? So like when like Lauren Southern and the fucking like Black Pigeon Speaks and all of those fucking people were out there, they weren't saying that they should enact political violence. Even though Vaush has given that prescription, he's gone way more mask off than fucking Lauren Southern ever did, than fucking Black Pigeon Speaks ever fucking did, than any of those people ever fucking did, right? The fact that they fear-mongered and it caused multiple fucking mass shootings, the fear-mongering itself with no prescription was enough to do that. And so Vaush doing that is stochastic terrorism.
Okay, so again, like I'm critical of what Vaush did here. Like I don't
right,
want to
but the
defend
part
it.
but the part
Yeah.
that you are defending is the bad part too. Both
No, I'm
parts of it
just
are
saying.
bad.
So no, I don't think so. Again, I disagree. So I think that if you have some sort of analysis, right? Your analysis is, hey, listen, let's say I'm Canadian, okay? I'm Canadian. We have universal healthcare. Okay. Now, let's say I come out, I'm like, oh my God, conservatives might get elected, and then they're going to take away our universal healthcare, and then you're going to have no more healthcare, guys. So now, even if that's unlikely to happen, I don't see why, how you're saying that, like, being alarmist about it is like the worst thing ever, or just as bad as the violence.
Okay, so
calling
you're
to violence, or
okay. So I understand where like this part of the conversation is breaking down is
I'm
because
saying, like,
you're
people
talking
have
about you're
all
talking about the
kinds of
difference.
analysis.
You're talking about the difference between like giving a take on like what could happen, right?
Yeah.
And like the so you're like rolling it back to just like, oh, well, he's being kind of alarmist, right? I'm saying, no, he's not just being alarmist. What he's doing is literal stochastic terrorism.
No,
and the line that I would draw there, right, is that like, I would say that like an alarmist kind of rhetoric that I would be okay with, right? And that I might even like subscribe to is that, hey, by them doing these like putting forward these kinds of trans bills, passing these trans bills, making it illegal essentially to get any kind of trans affirming healthcare is going to lead to trans people dying. That is alarmist. It might be true. It might not be true. We don't like have like direct evidence what's going to happen in the future, but that is alarmist. And that is something that I would defend, right?
Sure.
To go an extra step and then say that
you're making the point that I made originally, which is I hate extremist language and I hate extreme. So
then why won't you say that what Vaush's alarmism is the problem?
No, because the alarmism itself isn't actually the problem. It's the call to action that I have an issue with.
Okay,
if you want to,
we can move past it. If you like, right? Yeah. This is the problem. All right, this is where I'm not understanding. So you agree with me about like the Lauren Southern and the other white nationalists that they never ever gave a prescription, but they were very alarmist and they said that like culture is dying and white people are being erased and all that stuff, and they never gave a prescription. You agree with that, right?
Okay. Sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. But
right, but like overwhelmingly, all the people that like were listed in manifestos.
I don't know. They would say we need to stop immigration. We need to, they would say shit like that.
Right, and we could say
we need to get back to Judeo-Christian.
Sure, right, and we can look at Vaush's rhetoric. If we take away his prescription, we could say his prescription could just be like, we need to make sure that trans people are protected, and we need to like, take matters into our own hands as a community and just make sure that trans people are protected from all of these horrible bills. Right now, that right there is not an incorrect statement, but like given all of the alarmist rhetoric up to and including saying that there is an impending trans genocide, this is stochastic terrorism, right? If you agree with me that they didn't even have to, the other people, all they did, right, was exactly what Vaush did. They laid out a bunch of premises. They said that the systems are like have fundamentally failed the group in question, and we need to like hunker down and make sure that ours are protected. Right? Not like even without any prescription, that right there is going to like lead to people like going out and shooting people in the way that he did it.
Okay, yeah, I don't agree with it.
You don't agree with
he shouldn't have done that. Yeah, he shouldn't have done that.
Okay, right. That's like all I'm trying to say. But like this, but like even this right here, like this ultimate, this ultimate level of charity has to go away at a certain point. right? Because we have to, we have to draw a line somewhere, and we have to like decide where that line is.
So
Yeah.
listen, again, my line, okay, here I'll tell you. My line is if he goes on some sort of arc where he's nonstop saying this, just every stream he's on about how we need to enact violence and stuff, then yeah, obviously I'll say, yo, this is not no longer a net good. But we haven't gotten to that. To me, he's not good. I guess you disagree that he's not good, right? Is that the point of
Can you
this?
give me anything else that he does that's like a net good then?
I think pushing back on Republicans isn't that good. And conservatism.
But
that's my line is so
I
low.
could say
I'm a vote blue no matter who.
No, I am too, right? But that's not what he's saying. He's going like, okay, the way he's pushing back on Republicans right now isn't saying, "Oh, we should go out and vote." He is saying that. He is saying that, right?
Saying that,
but he's not just saying that. His answer right now is political violence. Do you disagree with that?
No, wait, are you saying he's picking one or the other?
Does it matter?
Yeah, because if he's still advocating for the thing that is effective.
So if I say, "Hey, everybody, we should go out and make sure that we vote so the Republicans don't take office. We should also be murdering Republicans in a video game."
Yeah, that I'll say we should not fucking say the second part.
That's what I'm saying.
The first part is still good advocacy. That's my point. I already said that I already agree with you.
But if he
but if he says that one time where like he says that in a couple videos because he's unhinged yelling at chat, that doesn't make him now a net harm to the movement or a net harm to leftism or progressivism or anything like that. That's why we differ, I guess. Like for you, it's like, oh, one bad take and that's it.
No,
like,
it's not one bad take. It is a continued pattern of behavior of essentializing all people who might disagree with him or with socialism or even like his social prescriptions as like ontologically evil and that they should be like murdered if they can't be voted out.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Yeah,
okay.
I disagree with that. Okay.
But if he sprinkles in every once in a while, yeah, we should vote.
No, it's not every once in a while. I think he's pretty fucking consistent and he's pretty good at like covering like various elections or fucking I don't know, talking about the Senate, the House and shit like that. I don't know. Like, okay, here's my thing, okay? Do you think that the average Vaush viewer right now is like about to pick up a gun and go on a spree?
I would not. I would listen. Of course, the average Lord and Southern viewer.
Okay, not even average. Do you think you think that he's activating people to that level?
Because unironically, yes. Unironically,
yeah, okay.
yes.
I guess maybe that's where
because I would not. If there was a mass shooting tomorrow at some like Republican convention or a convention that is like predominantly conservatives or at like the Daily Wire headquarters, I would not be surprised if Vaush's fucking name came up in that manifesto. Like it would be like the first place my mind went. I wouldn't say it publicly until we had like direct like evidence of it, of course, because that would be a horrible fucking accusation. But I would not be fucking surprised in the fucking slightest. Okay, because of the way that he speaks. Because I watched all through 2016, all the way up until the point where I streamed, and then after that, all of the fucking horrible rhetoric from the alt-right. And I don't remember once. And like I watched some of the things just so I could understand what their points were, because I saw people around me turning into alt-right fucking fuckboys, right? And the rhetoric they used never, ever, ever rose to the level of, well, we should be going out and killing people. The rhetoric they used was, we should be going out and voting for our values, right? Although the system might be too corrupted and the Democrats might win in this election and that election. So we have to hunker down and make sure that we protect those that are important to us. Like that's the problem, is that it is a 1-to-1 exact like matchup of the rhetoric that I saw leading up to those mass shootings. That's the problem. And no amount of like every once in a while saying like, yeah, we should go out and vote, or even sprinkling that, even if you had it as a 1-to-1 ratio in his videos where he said we should go out and vote and we should kill Republican.
I don't even
senators.
think it's not 1-to-1. It's.
I have seen way more about
1-to-1. He might have
I
seen
would
like
say
2
I
or
would
3 times he said it. I don't think he's
no,
out
it
here every
is.
day saying this shit.
I would say it's
Maybe I'm wrong.
fucking.
I don't
I
watch.
would
Maybe
say
I don't want to
I
watch
would
enough.
say it's every fucking stream.
Okay.
I see it
All right,
all the
let me
time. But
ask
yeah,
you.
go ahead.
Let's say, do you think before this recent arc that he was a net good?
I was on my way out of it. I'm so sorry. Can you give me like 20 seconds? I need to run downstairs. Yeah.
Sure. Yo, what's up?
Okay. So you were about to ask me a question. Sorry, I had to help my girlfriend with something.
Oh, I was gonna ask you, did you think like Vaush was good ever, or?
Yeah. I didn't know about Destiny until after I saw him interact with Vaush.
No, I mean good in terms of like net good.
Yeah. I think that it really started to take a dive summer of last year, maybe, or maybe that was just like my perception of it. And maybe he had been nosediving before that, but I think that before that he was largely very consistent. I think that he was pretty good about making sure that he was ultra clear, never like political violence unless like there's something absolutely like pressing, like he definitely took Destiny's argument about political violence when it comes to like DACA. That was Destiny's point. Like if there's like a direct threat of harm to you, like they're coming to deport you because you're a DACA recipient, right? Like it, like morally, not necessarily legally or like logically, like it might not be a good idea for you to do it, but like he couldn't like morally condemn someone for enacting political violence against someone because they're trying to deport them from the only nation that they've ever lived in, right? So like, I think that Vaush was much more careful, but I think that, and this is my perception of Vaush, I think that as time has gone on and as he has tried to get further away from Destiny, he used to steal a lot of Destiny's takes and then kind of adapt them for more of like a socialist point of view, or he would disagree with Destiny, he would talk to him. But once he allowed himself to stop being like intellectually challenged, and he just had yes men around him all the fucking time, the quality of his takes kept on getting worse and worse and worse to the point where he's like saying like, if you're in a monogamous relationship, then you're just like insecure as fuck.
Yeah, he said that on our podcast.
Yeah. That shit's like that shit's like fucking cringy as fuck, right? And
okay, so let me stop you right here.
Yeah.
All right. The reason I asked, okay.
Hold on, really quick, Castlebon, deportation is violence. If you're being deported from the only country that you've ever known and that your entire life is based in, then yeah, deportation is violence. It's literally state violence. Go ahead.
Okay, let me ask you. So you think at some point he was good, right? But all of the things that you just listed of times he was good was after his Glass Israel comment. So
right. So I can draw a distinction. Yeah, I can draw a distinction between like shitty fucking edgy rhetoric, right? And like the totality of that person's opinions, right? And the totality of that person's rhetoric.
Do you think that Vaush had extreme rhetoric, or do you think he really believes that he wants to arm and start shooting anyone who's conservative?
I think he actually, like, I mean, fuck, maybe we watched a different video and you didn't see like everything that I've seen, but like
maybe I haven't watched. My dad was sick and all this shit.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah,
during all of that.
Yeah, he was pretty fucking explicit. And then like every single time someone said like, so you're like talking about like killing Republicans, and he would say, well, I would never condone political violence, just like that, in the most like sarcastic fucking voice ever.
Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, to make a broader point and compare it to the previous statement he made about Israel, that people have shitty takes and shitty prescriptions, and then it moves on, and then other issues come up, and there's other takes.
I think the difference between
I look at the totality. Yeah. I look at the totality and like, what is their average take, and what is do I agree with them more often than I disagree with them? Shit like that, you know?
Right, but even when I watch Vaush's videos now, I disagree with him more than I agree with him because he's factually wrong on so many things, and thus his prescriptions are like way off base, right? And like I can understand looking at the totality of someone's work, which is why I was so charitable to Vaush for such a long fucking time. Even when I was losing DGG followers, because I wanted to remain consistent, and that like I've like seen some of Vaush's takes And I think a lot of them are good. I think that some of them are bad, but like it gets to a point where it just like continues to like show like really, really bad and dangerous rhetoric over and over and over to the point where I can't say that this is someone that I would consider a political ally. I wouldn't even consider them like someone that should be allowed to have a platform half the fucking time recently.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess like when it comes to allyship, for me, I already explained. Like for me, it's like conservatism versus everyone else. You know.
Okay, but let's say that there's
That's right. Yeah.
let's take a conservative who might be just like a libertarian, but has like all of like the based social values that you have, but they're just like much more like against like taxation and like big government, right? But they like
Well,
they
I
might
think
agree with like
I
all of the different like ideas behind like systemic racism, even if they like take it the long route around it to get
but do they
there.
advocate voting for Republican officials?
Yeah.
Yeah, then there you go. That's where I would say they're more of a net harm than
What if they advocated for
as
someone
someone who's on the left.
What if they advocated for someone to vote for a Republican that is more like John McCain than Donald Trump? Are these are
Uh,
is if you have two people in front of you?
no, I don't really look at it like that because I'm vote blue no matter who, right? Like I think even the best conservative or best Republicans are still not someone that I would want in power.
There are Republicans that I would have in power before I had like a fucking literal fascist, right? Or there are Republicans that I would have in
Yeah, if you give
office
me a choice between two, if you give me a choice between two fucking Republicans, then I can pick the one that's less bad. But if you're gonna ask me, hey, would you ever say it's okay for the Republic to advocate voting for a Republican when there's a Democrat? No.
Okay, let's say that fucking Jimmy Dore versus like the nicest Republican. Would you still vote for Jimmy Dore, even though
Yeah,
like
I
he
would.
does like
I probably. I
really?
probably still, yeah, I probably still would because I know that when it comes down to voting on bills, it's not so much the individual politicians' stances on things. It's more like,
Sure, if we're talking about like in
there's
like
more
a
politicking
in the
involved.
totality of things, but I'm just like talking about like on their like political stances, because if they're president, then they're going to be setting the agenda for whatever party they have, right?
Well, I'm going off the assumption that it's only going to be a fucking um, Democratic. Democrats or Republicans, right? Like Jimmy Dore's never going to become
Well,
president,
let's.
and even if he ran,
I'm only using
I
him
know,
as an
but
example
I
to
guess
show like someone that's left leaning that like that
no, I
does
think
not share
I
the
would
same
agree.
values
Listen,
that you do.
no, I agree with a lot of stuff on Jimmy. Jimmy Dore is pro universal health care. Jimmy Dore is pro legalizing marijuana.
There are
Jimmy,
Republicans that are for pro
universal
universal health
health
care.
care.
Yes.
I do you have to you're gonna have to show me those.
Fuck, I think Nick Fuentes is for universal health care. That has
Yeah,
nothing to
but Nick
do.
Fuente, yeah, no, but that's just one thing, right? I can keep listing them
Right, but what
off.
I'm saying is like we can look at like individual things like that. It doesn't matter if like Jimmy Dore is in favor of universal health care or if he's like I don't even know what other thing that he has is positive about him. Like
Yeah,
genuinely.
oh here this was another hot take. I made a list of things that Jimmy Dore, because people were telling me Jimmy Dore is not left wing, and I thought that was the biggest cope I've ever heard. So I listed
He's
off
like
some of his
ultra
left wing
populist left wing,
positions.
yeah.
Yeah, he's left wing though, for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's not, but like he's the kind of left wing that would side with anti-establishment Republicans, like
Yeah,
Trump
I know,
types. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
which is why I
but
would
like,
rather like I would think that Jimmy
no,
Dore
I
would be
wouldn't
more of a
rather.
danger than like the nicest Republican.
I mean, fuck, we're getting into such
Yeah,
an abstract.
we are.
It
We
just
are.
depends, like it all depends. But you can, I don't know, we can go on to a few other takes. I had one where I was full on tweeting back and forth with Mike from PA and Hassan, and they both were responding to me. Yeah, there's my King Cat Pride discourse that one of my mods quit the community over because they said I was being homophobic because I said that there's too much nudity at Pride. Here's my
Right.
Lauren
It's
Southern
not
hot take.
again.
You know?
We're talking about like whether or not like you would ever speak out against like a content creator in a way that would like burn a bridge with them.
Well,
I don't
what about
consider
Hassan and Mike from PA?
none of us in this space are ever going to get on with Hassan and Mike from PA and get into
Well, not if we trash them, yeah.
No, never. Because Hassan won't interact with someone that's smaller than him, and Mike from PA doesn't
Do you think Hassan
interact
doesn't
with.
have Hassan has orbiters?
I don't think so in the way that
Frogan? Frogan is
not
a
in the way
Star
that
Wars-
fucking Destiny does, where they like are like. What I'm trying to say is like, how big is Frogan? Okay, I don't know a lot about Hassan at all. All right,
She's probably like a 500 viewer, Andy, maybe 200 viewers, two to 500, I think maybe. We can check.
and they like they're often like on stream together and like doing shit.
Yeah, they hang out and
That's actually
yeah.
incredibly surprising to me, because my understanding is that like Hassan will never like have on a smaller content creator ever, unless
he just doesn't like political content creators, I think.
okay, well then there's no bridge for you to burn there. There's no risk.
No, but I mean, fucking, listen. The point is, like, getting on these people's bad sides. Like, we could pull Hassan viewers if we don't shit on him. A Hassan viewer might find their way into your channel or find their way onto your Twitter page and be like, "Oh, hey, here's a progressive person. Let me follow them." So yeah, of course, all of these things affect everything.
So, but wait, you're
Attacking
like
Mike from PA is gonna
you're making my point for me, because by not attacking these people, right?
I
You have
attacked
nothing.
them, though.
Wait,
I
wait,
attacked
wait,
them.
wait, 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 wait. By not like making it so bad that you're like that you're like taking a stance against these people that will like actually get people to hate you, right? Even it like that. I'm not saying that you have to make people hate you. What I'm trying to say is that if there is something that they're doing that is like ultra fucking bad, and you're like thinking, well, maybe I can pull some of their viewers, like that's the thing that Hans is trying to say, right?
No, I'm saying I don't care about that, which is why I attack them. If I cared, I wouldn't criticize them. I have examples in this thread of criticizing
Wait, hold on,
every
I'm
single
confused.
big political.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm just confused, because I thought a second ago you were saying that we should be trying to like build bridges with these people because
No,
we can get their viewers.
Sorry. What
Okay.
I'm saying is I will always just have whatever take I have. If there's something I disagree with about Hassan, I'll say I disagree with him about it. If there's something I disagree with Vaush, I'll say that, or Destiny, I'll say the same thing. I don't really care about that.
But again,
and
I agree that like that's not necessarily
right?
a bad thing. I don't necessarily agree that that's a bad thing. I think that is a good thing
No,
that
I'm
you can
saying-
have positions that you're willing to stand by. But if there's someone
Yeah.
that is like doing like going off the deep end, right? Like I what would you say like what is the standard by which you would say that like Vaush is like go like how far would he have to go for you to say that he is a net negative for the left?
If the majority of his content, like here, I'll give you an example, okay? Jimmy Dore, I think, is probably a net harm now. Why? It's not because he spent so much time being a Bernie buster, but even though I don't like that, I think that was cringe that he was saying, "Oh, Hunter Biden's laptop and shit," when Trump was trying to steal the election. Da da da. He's a net harm now because the majority of his content became anti-vax and saying that COVID is made by the fucking pharmaceutical industry and stuff, and that has become the majority of his content. Now I think, you know what? Fuck that. He's a net harm.
Right, but what would like
So it
how
just
far
depends
would
on the
Vaush have to
totality
go?
of their content. He would have to switch his content to like being majority like or a considerable portion like, hey, we need to, all right guys, what's up, it's Vaush here, we need to go and enact violence on Republicans today. What violence have you done? Share, like, and tweet, whatever, like shit like that. Like, yeah, that take was really fucking bad. His rhetoric was really, really bad. And as someone who's a moderate and not an extremist, I hate that shit. And I know that there's a tendency of people to be extreme because it gets views, and that annoys the fuck out of me as someone who can't be extreme. But, yeah, I guess that's
I would
where
say
draw
that
the,
like
line.
I would say that for me, like someone can be like based 80% of the time, but if they're like really, really bad 20% of the time, I don't think that like I can stand there and like align myself with them in any way, shape, or form. right?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
if
I guess it just depends, right? Like, it depends how bad is it, how we'd have to get into the specifics. Maybe Vaush's content has gotten really bad, but like, if we go look at his most recent videos, do you think that they're like call to violence videos, or do you think they're just like cultural critiques of Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro? And let's go look at some of his video titles.
sure, let's see. Vaush. Let's see here. I don't know if he'll have it in his title, but let's see here.
Let's see. Let's just see.
Yeah. Okay. We've got J.K. Rowling and Matt Walsh right now. Twitter oomphies, police kill child in disastrous SWAT raid. It says that I've watched that. I don't think I have. Maybe I was asleep and just
It
listening
was
to you.
yeah, auto played.
Yeah. Vivaldi camera footage releases is exponentially worse than you thought. I think that his cop rhetoric is also like incredibly fucking damaging towards like actually getting anything done. But like that might be contentious between the two of us. I don't know what your stance is on that.
I don't know what his takes are. Really.
He has this like weird amalgamation where he'll say some like really fucking crazy shit about cops. Like they're like literally out there to kill you, but like their job is hard and we have to understand that they're people too. But like they're out there to kill you and you should never trust a cop.
Listen,
ever. Like he
as
like
a minority.
No, I
as
understand.
A minority
like yeah,
who's had a lot of shitty run-ins with the cops. Like I mean I'm not very pro cop myself. So
listen, I think there's a difference between like understanding the problems with policing and like hating cops. Like the reason I know white privilege exists is because when I was a like shitty fucking 17-year-old, I got a fucking pat down in like a 2-hour fucking search of my friend's car, and I was talking mad shit to the fucking cops because I was so fucking mad, and I didn't get shot. Okay, and it was only after that like in like reflecting on that and thinking like, oh shit, you know what? Like it is a fucking miracle they didn't toss me to the fucking concrete.
escalate more, yeah.
Yeah, but like I understand, but like I think there's a difference between like recognizing the problems with policing and then like saying that all cops are like literally out there to like kill black people, and it feels like a lot of his
obviously,
or
yeah,
like
of course.
like when like Vaush every single time he sees like a video of a cop, he's immediately like jumping to like the most extreme conclusions possible.
Yeah.
And then like
or like reacting to breaking news and shit.
Yeah. I think that's pretty bad.
So
but, like,
I agree, I disagree with that. Like it's probably best to not cover that kind of stuff and wait until more evidence comes out. I remember one time I think he got caught. There was like it looked like the police planted evidence or something. But then like when it was like a 7-second clip, but then when the longer version of the clip came out, it was actually like perfectly fine. They just moved the bag or something like that.
That's what I'm referencing to. Like that sort of shit, and that's like pretty consistent.
Sure, yeah.
Listen, I think that's more damaging.
That just goes down to he's more radical than you and I. And
even if he was like the most radical fucking communist in the entire world, he still would have been factually wrong there and hurt his movement because he's not actually speaking to a truth claim of what happened there. He's selling a narrative, and then he's like, and then like people will believe shit off of that narrative, leading people to go out and spread that narrative, and then it like makes it harder for us to try and get people to like understand where we're coming from when we're talking from fact-based things.
I agree. The thing is, I guess I just have like a much lower expectation of the average viewer. I think most people aren't looking for the truth. Okay, they're looking for like a sensational narrative.
No, it's exactly
fit to their worldview.
Hey, listen, I 1,000,000% agree with you. But our job shouldn't be playing into the lowest common denominator in our chat. We should be informing them.
That's why you and I are different. Yeah, I know, and that's why you and I are different. But to say like, but that having specific critiques is far different from like making a judgment on whether they're not good or bad. I guess we just have to agree to disagree on that.
Okay, what part of what I just said did you disagree with?
Then the totality of it. So I think that like creating, for example, okay, the Supreme Court just to
be ultra clear, because like there's no way that you believe what you just said. Okay,
go ahead.
Boil down to the basic like bottom of the barrel, like easiest thing that I just said was we shouldn't lie to people because they will believe us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you think that we should lie to people for political gain?
Elevator rated with 6 viewers.
We shouldn't, no. But if somebody does it, it doesn't mean that it's 100% a net harm, because it could still be beneficial to the movement.
Okay, so you don't disagree it's a good... Okay, if it's bad, then we should probably like tell people not to do that.
It can, yeah, we should. But
I don't care about that.
Like, something can be bad, but have net positive outcomes.
Okay, I don't think that just because you arrive at a good prescription means that you like arrived there in a good way. Because like,
who cares? I guess I don't really
okay, let's take two guys. Okay, let's take two guys, and they have to measure.
Let's say, for example,
let
me give you an example. Okay, let me give you an example. Let's say Vaush was like, "Yo, listen, the Democrats, if you vote for them, they're gonna give breast implants for all." Okay, he's obviously lying about that, but some percentage of the dudes who watch him, they want all women to have big titties. They go out and vote for the Democrats. Okay, now I can at once say Vaush shouldn't use incorrect information to build his premise of voting for Democrats, while at the same time saying it's a net benefit that he's saying go vote for Democrats.
Okay. What happens to those people when people don't get big titties?
I don't know.
They become Jimmy Dorites.
Because in that example, yeah, they'd be probably pretty
because they're not getting what was expected, right? They think the system has completely failed them, and they have to like.
Do you think that people will be upset if there's no trans genocide? Because Vaush said that there would be.
This is a completely different thing.
Like I'm saying, okay. Let me back up, okay? What I'm trying to say is the videos he's putting out, they're getting 200, 300 views, 300K views, and a lot of them are critiquing conservatism, right? Without calls to action or without, a lot of them are just straight up critiquing conservatism. I think that's good.
Okay, here's my,
it's good to have content like
this is why I disagree. And let's see if you agree with this, all right? Let's take two guys, they have to measure a table, all right? They take, one guy pulls out a tape measure and he measures the length of the table and he says, this table is exactly 8 feet and 1 inches long, right? 73 feet. Now the other guy, he walks over to the table, he pulls out a bunch of D&D dice and he rolls them and it adds up to 73. And he says, this table is 73 inches. Do you think those people are equally right?
No, of course
Okay,
not.
let's take it a step further. Now let's say that person that because they both got the correct answer, and you were saying earlier that
you're asking me which one's better. Okay,
wait, yeah. So now let's take the person, right? You were saying that like as long as like the good outcome happens, then like it's a net positive. As long as they're like voting for Democrats and against Republicans. Let's say that this person becomes an engineer, and instead of using a fucking tape measure, instead of using using anything to measure it out, he's just rolling fucking D&D dice and using those numbers to construct a building. Do you think that's going to be a safe building?
Probably not, but
okay, so we can
other checks there.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead. I get you.
Yeah. So the analog here would be like information and critical thinking, right? If we want people to, or prescriptions and critical thinking. If we want people to like get good prescriptions, we want them to get those good prescriptions in the most like truthful and like in reality way possible.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's why personally for me, I watch Destiny's content more than I watch Vaush's content by far, because I like the way that Destiny explains things. I like the way that he breaks things down with facts-based stuff, even if it isn't necessarily the sexy thing. I agree. But I can say that both of these guys are net positive.
I guess
that's literally my take.
I guess I just like disagree.
Like, I would agree 100%.
I think that
teaching people how to think critically is better, you know?
I think that like at the end of the day, and I don't think we have to go through any more of the thread, because like I understand like you'll take a stance, you'll stake out a position, and you'll stick to your guns. And I think that that's like a good thing. You're not going to like compromise necessarily on your like specific takes just because people give you a lot of backlash. But I think that one second, I lost my train of thought. Talking about sticking to your guns and all that. I think that at the end of the day, I think that you are looking at who you think are like good and bad actors in in the space, right? And giving too much charitability to people that might be like really, really negative. And I think that because of that, it comes off in the way that Hans was saying. I don't think that again, like I really don't think that you're a bad person, and I really don't think that it's like a big clout thing. But the outcome, I would say, of like if everyone were to operate off of your like
The way
modus operandi,
Yeah.
I think that like critical thinking would
I
just
think
like
it would be
immediately
such a.
go out the fucking window
How could you say that?
because I want people to live in reality. And when we have people that are pushing like non-reality in order to like attain political goals, whether they're like lying to attain those political goals, even if that does lead to Democrats getting elected in the short term, in the long term, it just like in like one case they could turn into like Jimmy Dorites, or like we could go like into some like crazy fucking world where eventually we'd turn into like fucking Weimar Germany, where there's socialists running around fucking doming people, and there's like Nazis that are running around and doming people, and then only the most extremes will ever win because they have to be the most extreme to fight against the like existential threat that they're pointing out on the other side. And I think that that's like the more scary future than like losing one election and then like trying to come back from it, right?
I guess I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I agree with so much of what you just said. Like, I'm very non-radical myself,
No, I don't think that you're
but
radical, but I think that you're.
yeah, I'm super moderate. Like, I hate
Yeah, I agree.
radicalism,
I would
and
agree that
everything
you
that
are.
you're saying, I agree. Right? Like, if when I go on stream and stuff, I don't care if my viewers are VGGers who think capitalism is the root of all problems. Like, I don't give a fuck. You know, I'll push back on them and whatever. But I guess, yeah, for me, it's just like I can see like I can criticize people on the micro and like still recognize their effect on the macro, I guess. But maybe that's where we have to leave this one. I had one more
Yeah.
example of something
Yeah,
a
if you want to
contentious
bring it
thing that
up,
I
we
had.
can.
Yeah, there was one, the Mr. Girl one, right? Like when Vaush and Destiny talked to Mr. Girl that weekend when he talked to both of them when they first burst on the scene.
Mm.
I instantly called it out and I said like I think where is it?
Scrolling up, I remember. Yeah,
There's
here
this
it is.
one where I called out the bathroom thing. That was a contentious one too. Oh yeah, this one here. Neither Destiny nor Vaush had any idea who they had on stream to chat with the other day. It's a cursed rabbit hole that is legit hard to stomach. Genuinely impossible to distinguish if it's parody. The frequency and commitment with no payoff is concerning. And then I listed exactly everything that I thought was wrong with it. This take alone, which has 1,000 fucking likes now, a lot of people were like, "You're soy. You're fucking like debate rally on it." John says like this was
Yeah,
not a
no,
very
I agree. Like there were people that were like way too charitable to Mr. Girl too. Like I'm not again, like I don't think that like all of your takes are like fucking like dog shit, or that you're unwilling to stake out a position. Again, like I think that like we've kind of distilled down to the point where like it comes down to you're looking at like an ultra macro, and I would also like to look at like the ultra macro because there are things that I'll overlook of people saying some stupid fucking shit. But I think that our tolerance levels for those things
Yeah,
are
maybe
like
that's what it is.
massively
Yeah,
off. And I
yeah,
think that like I would say to you like I would implore you, I would beg you to like
yeah.
really like sit down and think about like Vosh's effect on the macro. Like get like the sorts of shit that you'll just see on his channel isn't enough. Like look at look at right-wing critiques, look at centrist critiques, right? And then watch Vosh's content itself, right? Don't ever look
Critiques
at
of Vaush, you mean?
yeah, right?
So
Because
you're
like
saying right wing critiques of Vaush, centrist
yeah, like
critiques of Vaush, and then his content?
yeah, I think that like um especially after going through and like coming to the realization that holy shit, this guy is like a little bit fucking off his rocker, or at least he's like playing into like a radical element of his chat that's like really fucking toxic, and he shouldn't be doing that.
Mm.
Like seeing them bringing up stuff that I've never seen, like I like Vaush might be unironically fucking misogynist. Like the way that he treats and talks about women is like really kind of fucking weird, right? And there's like all these little cracks that started developing since like summer of last year, like when people would link me clips and then we would watch the whole video to get the context, and then that didn't make it any better, or it possibly made it worse. And then like those like tiny cracks that I started seeing in like my perception of Vaush, like shattered when I realized that, holy shit, this guy is like incredibly like not just like a partisan hack, because like I can get over that, even though I think that's still bad. He's not just a partisan hack, he's like actively damaging for us to like get any movement. Like even if people were to like try to build a coalition with like sock dems or like progressives, or I guess not progressives, I guess they would agree with like 90% of what he said, but they're also kind of crazy. Sorry, I'm rambling a little bit, but yeah, like it like all kind of like the cracks turned into like just like an instant shatter around the time that he started talking about just like killing Republicans. And it didn't start with the trans stuff. It started fuck, I don't remember what it was, but there was like some Nancy Pelosi video. It was with that Lucas Beasley or whatever the fuck his name is that him and Vaush talked about. Yeah. Like that one right there was like really, really fucking spooky. So
I don't know. I guess I think the you had the right analysis that we have different thresholds for it.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, I implore you, okay? Since we were doing imploring, fucking like try to. I feel like sometimes we get so bogged down on like stupid shit. Like, look at the Destiny fighting with Vaush over fucking police versus what was the other one?
Oh, social workers.
Social workers. Okay, yeah, I agree that like there's a conversation to be had there, but like when you really like kind of zoom out just a little bit, which is what I've been trying to do lately, you see that like there's a whole way bigger space of normies, and all of this shit goes over their head. Like I just watched I don't know if you saw Destiny debated Sneeko. It's like an hour-long debate. This guy Sneeko is like a complete normie, okay? Complete normie. All he does is like go on the street and like interview people and whatever. And watch this debate, and then like maybe you can DM me if you watch it or anything.
Yeah, I'll watch it
like,
after stream today.
Yeah, I watched it, okay? And the whole time I was just thinking to myself like, wow, we get so bogged down on like the political space and the political audience like angle that we forget that there's like this normie space, and we have to try to like appeal to them or try to realize that like there's more to it than this, and like these petty differences between people on the left who generally would agree on a lot of things don't really matter, and we should try to kind of like reach out and pull normies in.
Wait, do you think that Vaush is like capable of pulling in normies? We don't have to like go like deep into this, but do you think that Vaush is
no,
capable?
but I think for example like Hassan is.
Well, Hassan definitely is, but
yeah. That's why I think he's a net positive, by the way. Even though I fucking disagree with him so often.
I think that Hassan is like significantly more defensible than Vaush at this point.
Really? Well, you see in the comments that in my original response, a lot of people disagree. They said Vaush is defensible, but Hassan is not.
So no. I think that Hassan, like, I think that he's just fucking stupid, and I think that his chat. I don't think that I've never seen someone, even like Hassan viewers, right, that like say Hassan is like a giga-brained fucking ultra chad like politics dude. Like they like broadly agree with progressivism, and he talks about like pop politics. But like I don't think that any of them see him as like a movement leader. Whereas like with Vaush, like they like his fans fucking worship him.
True. But I mean, you could say the same thing about fucking Destiny or even Hassan. I'm sure his stands go hard, right?
Well, yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like, just I don't know if you saw like the XQC and Andrew Tate debate, like shit like that is like really gotten me to think, like, dude, well, what are we focusing on? Like,
I think, yeah, I'll definitely give that a listen.
yeah, the
Tonight, and I'll
Sneeko. It's only 1 hour. The dude is just completely unhinged. Like, and when I hear shit like that, then I'm like, okay, you know what? Vaush is much better than this guy, and he's still pushing for progressivism. So there you
yeah, just
go.
shoot me a DM of like what to listen for, and I'll definitely keep my
Bro,
ear
it's
out, all right?
literally like from the very first second. The dude is like, and doesn't think the COVID vaccines work, doesn't think masks work,
Mhm.
thinks the entire government is rigged, thinks like there's a shady cabal of elites that are controlling things, voting doesn't matter. And like, this is like, he's like huge. I think he's bigger than Destiny on YouTube. And I was just listening to that. I was like, fucking hell. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, hey, buddy, it's been a nice conversation. I hope it
You
like
too, man.
I don't want to like sit there and like compromise on what I believe. Again, I don't think that you're a bad dude, and I think that you are a net positive for this space. All right,
Thank you,
if
bro.
I'm to zoom out on
You
everything,
too.
but yeah. Anyway, love you, buddy. I'll catch you
Are you
later.
still
All right?
wait, one
Wait,
more thing. Are you still calling people low IQ?
I don't think I've called anyone low IQ in a long time. Um,
Based. That was one of my critiques of you last time we spoke, so I wanted to
yeah,
see
yeah,
how
yeah.
I was going. Good job, bro. All right, bro. We'll talk soon, all right?
All right, catch you later,
Have
buddy.
a good one.
Bye.
Later.
Like there were 3 or 4 times I feel like I misspoke and used the exact languages I was like trying to avoid because I was thinking about it. Um, like I said at some point, like you're not willing to like burn bridges, and that's not what I'm trying to get him to do. Like I don't think that you ought burn bridges. I just think that you should be willing to like call someone on their bullshit, and when they like show themselves to not be of like high moral character, then like you should probably like call them on that. Um, but I don't think that he's willing to do that if someone is like possibly a political ally. So